Well, hello everybody, and apologies for the delay. I am Josh,
And I'm Marichen.
and welcome to an unprecedented time in human history.
That is for sure. I've never seen anything like this.
Me neither. And we're going to touch on the human malware for just a little bit. It's not going to be the main focus, but it has caused a lot of issues, especially trickling down in the record industry. There's been so many legends that have passed away recently, and it's unprecedented for the time right now. So I'm just glad we're able to carve out some time, even at all, to sit and talk about this because it's just been crazy. I don't know how you've been handling it. I've been handling it okay. Luckily, knock on wood, I'm still able to work from home. And yeah, it's just been a crazy, crazy time these past couple weeks.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that. I worked, like normal a few weeks, and
Hmm.
then they shut down our attorney's offices here in Kentucky. I don't know about anywhere else in the States, but they said that attorneys can work from home. Haha, funny, funny.
Ha
Um,
ha.
Anyway, I've been kind of, at home, which, in turn gives me a little more time to focus on some
Yep.
schoolwork.
Hmm.
And, I've been deep cleaning a lot of my records lately too. So, good on that end. I've been
Yeah.
doing a lot of stuff I've been putting off. So I guess it's kind of good in a way.
Yeah. I'm able to work from home. Luckily, our building is not shut down because where I work, we're essential, but not in the way that we can let everybody in the building. I'm not a retail worker. I'm in a unique position, but I was able to go in the office Friday and get a bunch of stuff needed done, and I'm off. We're recording this on Saturday. I'm off Monday for my birthday, which is tomorrow as of the recording of this. And I'm a little sad because tonight I was supposed to go see Ben and Wheels in the Relief perform, and that got pushed back to the new record store day of June. But tonight he is doing a live stream, so I am very quietly listening to this in the background. You guys should not be able to hear it, but I'm recording this, talking about music, and just being surrounded by music in this really kind of confusing time.
Yeah, I
But
definitely
it's
tried to surround myself with music too.
yeah.
It's been such a weird time, and I even went to our local record store today. They're still doing like curbside.
Hmm.
The owners coming in and like kind of going through stock and posting it online and offering shipping and curbside pickup. And I'd actually went to
Yep.
get one of the albums we're going to be talking about in this video, and we were talking about record store day, and I was like, do you think it's going to get delayed because Trump's saying July to August before everything goes back to normal? And we were both speculating that record store day might just be one day this year, and they might combine normal record store day and Black Friday record store day, which would be very chaotic. But I asked him his opinion, and he kind of said, yeah, it might.
If that is the case, then that is the case. I will be okay
Yeah.
with that. I'm just hoping my local store survives until then. I'm pretty sure they will. But he's doing an unprecedented 25% off sale, which kind of scares me. Um,
Oh, wow.
it's like 20%, 25%. He's always done deals and stuff, but he's like 20% off gift cards, this and that. And that kind of, it's a fun thing, but it also scares me at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know how I would feel about doing a sale in the middle of all of this.
Well, he says he's trying to get channels for new things and that. Maybe it's just me thinking it's weird being a 25% off sale because I'm not used to him
Yeah.
doing that. But I'm hoping to shore up some money here because everybody's hit hard. Someone in my family has been furloughed. It's just a little tough right now making sure we have the finances for what we need.
Hmm.
I bought a new grill today. I'm very happy about that because mine literally was just rotted on the inside. So I just bought myself one of those basic charcoal grills,
Uh-huh.
And then also my mixer went. So I splurged, and for my birthday, I got myself one of those KitchenAid mixers, like, the ones that you can put all the attachments on.
Oh, those are so nice.
And I got a deal on it. I paid $180, and that was with free shipping and all my discounts. So that's not a bad price for a KitchenAid.
Yeah, definitely not. That's a good deal.
A major deal, if you ask me. um, so, along with the negatives, there's always positives. There's things to look forward to. I was just playing a couple of online games with a friend earlier today. We were both talking that maybe Haley Williams' physical releases of Petals for Armor might get pushed back, but the album will still come out digitally.
Yeah,
So
I think a lot of albums, as far as, being pressed on vinyl, might get pushed back. I know that some of, like, the recent releases are still, gonna be sent out, but I have a feeling that a lot of the upcoming releases will get
right,
pushed
and
back.
I was also talking to my friend, and he and I kind of agreed that the Record Store Day releases are already pressed right now.
Mhm.
So if it does get pushed back to Black Friday, it's just one Record Store Day this year, it could mean an expanded catalog too.
Yeah, that's very true.
But I would be okay with that. I'm just waiting and hoping that I can get some money so that I can go down and support my local store.
Mhm. I just think it'll be more chaotic necessarily for, like, the record stores because, I mean, they're gonna have double what they're used to, and I feel like the crowd's just gonna be insane after all of this, which, I mean, I cannot wait to go back to my local record store and, like, go in. It's just such a weird
Yeah.
feeling not being able to go in and actually, like,
Yeah.
go through the bins and, not be
Well,
able to have that
yeah.
communication with everyone, so
What's nice is Martin's store. He is allowing people to go in. He is keeping under the 10 people.
Mhm.
He is doing curbside. He is doing shipping. You could call ahead if you were looking for something. You can even call ahead and do curbside pickup. Which if I find some money to do, I will definitely do that. Um, yeah. So it's crazy right now, but I think there is an end to this. I think it's kind of crazy to think there's not going to be an end to this.
Yeah, you definitely just gotta keep your head up and look at the positives.
Mhm. Yeah. So you wanna start talking about our subject that we're going to talk about today? We are going to talk about Pearl Jam this episode.
Yeah, sure. Let's get into it.
Yeah. So Pearl Jam released a brand new album this year, and it is called Gigaton. And it honestly, for me, is album of the year material.
Oh,
I
really?
I honestly love this album from front to back. And it has been a very long time. It's actually, I don't remember, the last time I was this blown away with a record was Underworld. And I've talked about that before here by Tonight
Mhm.
Alive. I have not been this blown away from like first or second listens in 2 years, which seems like a long time, but in our timeline, it's crazy.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I definitely like the album. I can see it being like maybe a top contender, but I don't know. I don't know. It's a very bold statement. I do agree. It's a very good album, though. I really like it.
It came for me at a time when I needed it, just
Hmm.
like Underworld came to me at a time when I needed it. So,
I feel like that also plays a part in,
yeah.
best album of the year and things like that. Because last year, my favorite album of the year was Ben Platt's album "Sing to Me Instead," and I just thought it was so beautifully written, and it was
Hmm.
just absolutely what I needed when I heard it,
And we could
which
talk about certain
was
songs individually.
unprecedented because
Yeah.
the Maine put out an album last year, and everyone knows that's my favorite band.
Yeah. So, yeah, and it's just been crazy. But I didn't have an album like that last year, so
Hmm.
it kind of gave me kind of like a not palate cleanse for the year, but it got me kind of prepared for another album that's going to blow me away for another couple of years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, yes, I did like The National. I did like what I said. Lindsey Sterling's Artemis was my album of the year last year because that was beautiful, but it didn't blow me away like other ones. This one is pretty much up there for me, and it's that emotional attachment.
Yeah. I have a feeling we'll be getting a lot of really great albums next year because of all this quarantine
Yeah.
situation. So I feel like music is going to be popping next year.
Oh, yeah, especially because, you know, of when you're going through certain situations, music will fuel you. And I'm very excited because my girl Diamante is going to be releasing some new music here soon. Haley Williams just released her new song. It is a killer earworm of a track, and it is so good. And I know you told me you haven't listened to it yet. Is that still the same?
Yes, I've not listened to it. I've been meaning to listen to it all day today, and I just haven't.
Well, do that after we're done recording. You owe it to yourself. It is a bop of a track. I will say, when she was talking on Twitter, like, she was kind of floored that everybody was, like, so attracted to it and, like, it's helping them and all that. It is a very, very good track.
I'm looking forward to the listen.
Did you listen to the other one, the Roses Lotus one that came out?
I did not.
I will get you a way to listen to those. So, you know I have my ways.
I feel like I'm behind.
That's all right. That's all right. You know, life can throw curves and everything. But, so do you want me to talk about my kind of exposure to Pearl Jam, and then you could talk about yours, or do you want to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Pearl Jam for me, I've kind of listened to them off and on since I was, goodness me, first job, 15. And, you know, they were kind of background music for me, and a lot of bands were up until I discovered Paramore, and that was when I actually really cared about music. And, you know, I was heavily listening to Soundgarden, because, you know me, I love my Soundgarden, and Chris Cornell. But I found this album called Temple of the Dog, and it also came out the year I was born. So I was like, this album was not only special because of that, it did come out on my birthday, but it's still, I could still say we share the same year. So I heard the song Hunger Strike, and I was like, so wait a minute, this is the singer of Pearl Jam. And then I started kind of rolling through that and slowly kind of getting an idea of their music, and digging in lyrically has only happened for me in the last, I would say, like 5 years, because I was just listening to it on the surface. Because if you listen to it live, it's like a, you know, a cool kind of, or even Jeremy, it's kind of like a cool kind of pop song. But when you listen to those lyrics, they are dark.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Just so you have an idea what I have, I might do a video on this, I don't know, but I have 3 singles of theirs. And I suspect my friend for my birthday, I'm expecting 2 packages coming up. And right now, as we speak, one is stuck in the black hole that is New Jersey. It's been known to be a Postal Service black hole. I have State of Love and Trust and Breath. This was from Record Store Day. Just pressed on black wax. It's a 7-inch. And I do have the single soundtrack. I'll go over that in just a moment. I have from Yield, Given to Fly, Pilot, and Leatherman. And then this was given to, the last one was given to me by one of my best friends who lives in England. Shout out to you, Kat. She gave me Nothing As It Seems. This is from Binaural. And the B-side is Insignificance. And this is one of my favorite colored records because it is probably my favorite shade of dark blue, but it has black speckles in it.
Oh, very nice.
So it is the exact, it's a repress and repackage of the exact same way it was in the OG, but I still like it. And one of my most wanted ones is I like the song. Title alone is Love Boat Captain. If you want an OG press of that 7-inch, be prepared to pay a lot of money for it. I don't know why it is, but we'll get into that, especially when we talk about some of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
But to talk about what records I have quite a few of them. So don't mind me moving to get this for just a second. But I have Temple of the Dog. Fun fact, if you've been watching my channel, my YouTube channel for any amount of time, you know I entered a contest for Vinyl Collector James. And that was one of my first videos on my YouTube channel, because I had been a fan of his for a while, and I wanted to just start watching it. And Temple of the Dog, I won his contest, and Temple of the Dog was the album that I'd wanted, and he got me the Music on Vinyl pressing.
Wow.
It's black, nice. It's not the colored pressing, it's the Music on Vinyl pressing. So if you know Music on Vinyl, you know that they do one hell of a job at pressing it. Let me get the hype sticker. It says, legendary album including insert with lyrics and etched D-side, and it's 180 gram audiophile vinyl, and it is Music on Vinyl, so it has the sticker. One of the best sounding records in my collection. I don't play it that much because, you know, I used to think of the stigma like, oh, if you continuously play it from year to year to year, it's going to degrade. Mm-hmm. If you watch have you heard of the channel Analog Planet?
I have, but I've not watched any videos.
His personality, you either like him or you hate him, but he says, he basically called out that being BS. And he says, I have an original pressing of The Who's Tommy, and he played the overture. Yes, there were little clicks and pops there, but he has like a high-end turntable. Uh-huh. It sounds as good as maybe like the first time you play it. He says he's been playing it since he first got it those 50-some-odd years ago.
Wow.
So that thing, as long as you take care of your records, it really depends on your turntable. Like, he says it's the most customizable way to listen to your music because you get what you put in.
That's very true. It all depends on, you know, how much effort you put into taking care of your records.
Yep. And then here was one that I have a story behind, and this was one comment I made on one of your YouTube videos. I have 10 and the 10 Redux, or Redo one. That's Brendan O'Brien, one of their longtime producers. This was 10 is, of course, you know, their most well-known album and most regarded album by many people as their best. I would rank it in, I'd put it at like, at least for me, if I was doing like a definitive ranking, I love it, but for me it's actually at 4, which is kind of crazy. Because I have another couple of favorites for sentimental reasons. But it has Brendan O'Brien's mix. This is 180 gram vinyl, and it comes with this really cool insert that looks like it would be like a slip mat, but really it's just a piece of cardboard. But I really like it. I mean, we could talk about 10 all day. We can do like a 3.5 hour dissertation cast on 10 itself and its influences, but everybody who knows Pearl Jam knows 10.
Oh, yeah.
I also have the singles soundtrack, so yes, I got the Record Store Day, just the 2 songs, but I was like, man, I would love that single soundtrack, and I'm so glad I splurged on this because it is one of the only ways I could hear one of my favorite songs by Alice in Chains. So the single soundtrack, do you know who all is on it?
I don't. I remember that coming out, but I never really looked into it.
All right, I'll give you a quick rundown of the tracks. Wood by Alice in Chains, Breath by Pearl Jam, Seasons by Chris Cornell, Dyslexic Heart by Paul Westerberg. That's side 1. Side 2 is Battle of Evermore by the Lovemongers, which is the cover of the Battle of Evermore. Mm-hmm. Chloe Dancer, Crown of Thorns by Mother Love Bone. And then side 3 is Birth Ritual, performed by Soundgarden, Stay Love and Trust by Pearl Jam, Overblown by Mudhoney, Waiting for Somebody, Paul Westerberg. This is side D, This May Be Love, Jimi Hendrix, Nearly Lost You, Screaming Trees, Drown by Smashing Pumpkins. A lot of it's grunge, of course, it's a grunge soundtrack, but there's a lot of diversity in that. So, just on that, it's a very, very much recommended album. The next one I have is MTV Unplugged Pearl Jam, which, you know, they had pressed a lot of these, and, you know, when Matt at Too Many Records says everybody and their brother's going to have a copy of this, it's actually hard to find now. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I know. It was so crazy. They pressed so many. And I remember for, the next week or so in the record store, I'd still seen copies floating around.
Yeah, now I
And
know it's a little
after
harder.
that, it's just you can't find any.
I'm so glad I have it, and it sounds awesome. The only thing is, it doesn't have the last song, which is "Rocket in the Free World," the cover of it. I don't know if they didn't have the rights to it or not, but it is still one of the best releases I have. I do not have. I do not have verses. That's coming in a upcoming video. Decided to try 1 month of Bandbox because they had Pearl Jam and I wanted to read the magazine. Just purely because of that, and they had a discount code, so I got verses at a really good deal. So if I really like what's in the box, I'm going to pause just because I only had enough money for the 1 month. But if I like it, I might come back to it. You never know. I do not have verses. I do not have Vitology yet. I do not have No Code yet. But I do have Yield, and this was given to me via a Secret Santa exchange where I was the last person and didn't get it and had to wait, and it was almost like pulling teeth to get it. But
Hmm.
Yield is one of my favorites. It's in the top 3 for me. Uh, the songs everybody would probably know is Brain of J, Faithful, Given to Fly, Pilot. I like Pilot. Those people who say they don't like Pilot, shut up. I like Pilot. Given to Fly, Do the Evolution, Low Light, all those yesterdays. It's a classic album from beginning to end, and I would say this is an essential listen album. So far, the albums I've talked about are pretty much. If you want to get into Pearl Jam, essentially listen to them. I was watching Crash Thompson, his video on how to get into Pearl Jam,
Hmm.
and I agree with a lot of his things, except I would put Yield in an essential listen. He put Temple of the Dog, 10 verses, and Vitology in essential listens, and I would put Yield in there as well. And then he kind of based it later on as like next steps and everything. So we're going to skip way ahead because I do not have Riot Act or Binaural, which I think are actually going to be the ones that my friend gives me. I asked for one record and sometimes he splurges and gives me two, and I'm like, dude, come on. Because you don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, but it's like, really, you don't have to give me anything. I just send you kind of like the list of things that I'm kind of looking for, you know?
Yeah, that's the way I feel when people give me a gift. I'm like, stop it. You don't need to give me anything.
Especially when they overdo it. I'm like, dude, come on.
I know that it makes me feel like such a crappy person. I'm like, no, I don't deserve this.
Um, so I'm going to go and have a hot take here. My favorite album by Pearl Jam is their self-titled Avocado album.
Hmm.
Um, I remember when I saw them in 2016, and you can find the bootleg on YouTube. You can buy it. The Hampton, Virginia bootleg. On their second encore, yes, Pearl Jam played for 3 hours and had two encores. It was amazing. But I remember they were talking about they were paying tribute to a woman named Jennifer Jaff, and basically she helped found a foundation where basically if you have like this was before we had kind of what we have now in the healthcare. Not talking politics, they do talk politics a little bit, but just kind of give you a background. If you have like some horrible conditions or you were really sick or this or that, she basically got it so that you can get the help that you need. So
Hmm.
they performed this song in honor of her, and I tell you, this is you hear me even like shaking in my voice.
Yeah.
I had never been that blown away hearing the song live for the first time. Like, I only knew kind of the hits and everything when I first saw them because I was like, oh, Pearl Jam's coming. I really want to see them. And then this made me love the band so, so much more. I'm telling you, Inside Job is the most beautiful rock song I have ever heard in my life. And this is the Brendan O'Brien mix of it. People are like, yeah, the original press. No, this is the only way for me to be able to get it. I paid, I think I went to say $35 for this.
Hmm.
I don't care what mix I got. I wanted a copy of this because I really wanted that. And then, of course, Come Back is the song before it. I love Severed Hand, Marker in the Sand, Parachutes. Like, this album to me is why I love Pearl Jam. It's not necessarily an essential listen because you have to know how Eddie sings and the vibrato, like the way the some people say yarl that he has in his voice. But if you get past that, this is a beautiful, beautiful album, and it was the first time I was blown away by the packaging too, because it's high quality art. Um, yes, it's on 33, but the entirety of Inside Job is on one side. It is the final side of the album, and because of the expanded, because of the way the records are pressed with the grooves and everything, it is it makes it sound amazing. I'm telling you, this one is worth getting, and I'm hoping that if that's the case, I get Binaural and Riot Act, that I'm just as blown away, because Binaural, Riot Act, and No Code are the kind of the ones that are kind of like the maybe you should stay behind and stay back from.
Mm-hmm.
But I love it. And then the last one I have on wax is Pearl Jam's Backspacer. The album that I think is getting a lot more love now. Now that people are starting to listen more, and it's honestly one of the recommended albums, I would say. And like after you've listened to 10 verses, and if you're still with 10 and you're with us with Verses, Vitology, and Yield, check out Backspacer, and definitely check out Lightning Bolt as well. I would definitely say that. One last thing, I was playing this, and I have it now playing because I'm in my my home office right now because I'm working at home. And my now playing bracket fell off the wall and landed, not while it was spinning, lightly on the record, so it nicked it up a little bit, and I'm sad.
Aww.
But luckily, it's not on the A side. I mean, I like the B side, of course, but it's not on the A side, which is my favorite side of that album. So I'll probably get another press. It's probably a little harder to find, but I'll probably get another press of it eventually. But that's a little of my backstory with Pearl Jam. Would you like to share your backstory now?
Yeah, sure. Mine is a little less complicated. So, you know, growing up, I feel like since, Pearl Jam and one of my favorite bands, Nirvana, were kind of the 90s Seattle grunge scene. I feel like, especially in my area, I'm not saying everywhere, but I feel like you either loved Pearl Jam or you loved Nirvana and you didn't love both. That was like a lot of people in my area. It was like you're a fan of one or you're a fan of the other. And, I first branched out into Nirvana and loved them. And
Mm-hmm.
everyone was like, you can't like Pearl Jam and Nirvana. So, I didn't listen to Pearl Jam, I mean, gosh, until I was in like maybe middle school.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember 10 was the first album I listened to, which obviously is a very iconic album
Of
for Pearl
course.
Jam, as we've already mentioned. Um, and I really fell in love with that album, and I started to listen to, a lot of their earlier releases, basically up to Yield, was kind of, what I kind of really got into in that era. And, I kind of stopped listening to them at a certain point. Like, I really didn't go any further in their discography for a
Mm-hmm.
while, and I don't know why I didn't. Um, and I haven't honestly really listened to a lot of their new releases. Gigaton is their first, new technically release that I've listened to in a long time, and um, Pearl Jam was one of those bands that I was like, they're good, but I don't know if they'll ever top Nirvana for me. And I kind of understand why everyone says either you love Pearl Jam or you love Nirvana.
I get that too.
I do like Pearl Jam. I'm not gonna diss Pearl Jam. I love Eddie Vedder's voice. I think he's just got a great voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they're all really talented musicians in general in the band, but I kind of just got into them on my own because I was like, you know what? You can like more than just one band. You don't have to like just one.
Yep.
So, I defied all odds and listened to Pearl Jam. And, I really started to get into their early discography, like, 10 and Verses, Vitology. I really started to get into those albums. And I didn't even really start collecting them on vinyl, until I had been collecting for a few years.
Hmm.
Um, I have 10 and I have Verses, and I have the State of Love and Trust single from Record Store
Hmm.
Day, and I think that's all I have from them on vinyl. But really cool story about the Verses album that I own.
Hmm.
I was actually in a record store in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and it's called Radioactive Records. If you're ever in the area, I highly recommend the store. They had gotten a lot of the 90s Seattle kind of grunge scene stuff in the store whenever I was there. And I seen this copy of Verses on the wall. It was a sealed promo copy of the album.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I need it." And so when I went in, I originally asked the owner how much it was, and it was about $60. So I
Ooh.
was like, "Okay, not bad, not bad." And I was like, "Okay, I'll think on it." So I continued to walk around the store. I picked up a handful of other records there as well, and I go up to check out, and I'm still looking at it, and she's like, "Hey, you want to see it?" And I was like, yeah, sure. Which, of course, you really couldn't open the gatefold or open the
Of
record because it
course.
was a sealed copy. Um, and I was kind of looking it over, and there was a small little dent in the upper right hand corner. Nothing major. And
Yeah.
I was looking at it and kind of debating. And she goes, "You know what? I'll do like 35 for it."
What? That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And so I was like, okay. I mean, I was literally about to be like, yeah, I'll buy it. I'll pay the $60 for it. But when she said $35, I was like, I think we have a deal. So that was really cool. And I remember when I got home from that trip, because this was like, I think it was the day before we come home that we went to this record store. Um, and I was debating the whole time, like, do I open this record or do I keep it sealed and, get a new reissue of the record? And, for a couple weeks, I was really going back and forth about it. And I finally decided to open it and play it because I'm like, you know what? What's the point in
Yep.
spending,
Yep.
the money on the record and not listening to it? And it is a great record. It's beautiful. So, that is one record that I really feel a strong connection with.
Yep. And for me, I'm always a person that's verses over 10.
Yeah.
And arguably, yes, I said arguably that my favorite is the Avocado record.
Hmm.
But to me, the best Pearl Jam record is not going to be a hot take because to me, after listening to their whole discography, beginning to end with the energy and everything, Versus is their best album.
It is definitely the favorite of, the albums I've heard. I haven't heard, some of their more modern, like early 2000s stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
that might take you a little bit to get through. My suggestion is to wait on No Code
mhm,
till last. Because
okay.
by then you'll know that you like this band, and it is a mess of an album, but it still has a couple of my favorite songs on there.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of bands have that one stinker of an album, but, at the end of the day, if you love the band, you still somewhat enjoy the album.
Yeah, and there are some
Can
people that sing its
pick
praises,
favorites.
so it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it might not be the best to me, but still, with Pearl Jam, even at their worst,
Hmm.
they're not bad. They're one of the few bands I could say that they're not bad.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree to that, from everything I know. I've never really been like, "Ooh, I don't like that," which I guess I could have been the snobby Nirvana fan. It was like, "Oh yeah, Nirvana's better than Pearl Jam." Ugh.
You know what's weird for me is I'm on the flip side where I like Nirvana and I get
Uh-huh.
why so many people love Nirvana. I have to actually, for me personally, I have to be in the mood to listen to Nirvana.
Hmm.
I'm one of those weird people that's like, the Seattle grunge. No, I got Alice in Chains, I got Soundgarden, I got Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
And each one I listen to has a personal connection. And while Alice in Chains, we celebrate. You should celebrate the guys in Alice in Chains and Nirvana anyway.
Hmm.
Tomorrow is the anniversary of Alice in Chains' Lane Staley passing away. It's also the anniversary of Kurt Cobain passing away.
It is.
It's also the anniversary of my favorite comedian passing away in my hometown. But also, positively, it's my birthday. So if you say I don't have a personal connection to Nirvana, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Because Kurt passed away on my birthday when I didn't realize what music was. And Lane happened in 2006 when I was barely kind of able to even think on music. So to say I don't appreciate it, that's harsh.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't have that big a connection to Nirvana. And that's okay. I still enjoy their music.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everyone has different tastes. And, I honestly got into Nirvana in the weirdest way.
Oh?
Uh, yeah, growing up, my parents listened to classic rock. My mom listened to like a lot of the classic country kind of stuff, but they never really listened to anything hard. Like Poison was about as wild as my mother got.
Mm.
And even now, like looking back, they're not that really hard rock. But they never really listened to anything kind of like, Nirvana or Pearl Jam or anything like that. So when I was maybe 5 or 6, I remember it was my best friend's birthday party, and she was a New Year's baby. So it was kind of like a New Year's party and a birthday party all in one. And she had an older cousin who was about to graduate high school, and she had on a Nirvana shirt. And it was just, classic Nirvana with the smiley logo. It wasn't, any ridiculous shirt or anything. And
Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of a cool shirt. I wonder what that is. And so I remember asking her, what is Nirvana? And she's like, oh, it's this really awesome band. And so then I was like, well, I like music. And about this time I had, started to get into classic rock. My dad had introduced me to Elvis Presley. And so I'd started to kind of get into things like that. And I went home and I listened to Nirvana, and it was not what I was expecting. But, I loved it from the get-go. I was like, this is not classic rock. Because, when she said, an older band, I assumed kind of classic rock era, but definitely not classic rock. But, I just fell in love with Nirvana that way, and I immediately went and bought a Nirvana CD with my money, like the next time we went to the mall. And I was hooked, so.
Yeah. And it's great when you can find a couple of bands that you feel like this deep emotional connection to, and you have that great story to go along with it. That's amazing. Talking about classic bands, just to tangent for just a moment, because my mind was on the Hall of Fame, and right now with our current situation, me listening to my favorite local band who I was supposed to see a concert with, as we're recording, I was supposed to actually be at a concert venue seeing a concert for my birthday. It's still happening. I have it on so you guys can't hear it, but I am watching my dude Bennett Wales rock the house. He's doing like a mini live show, keeping distance and stuff, keeping it there, but it's, obviously nobody's, there. And tomorrow I'm getting breakfast from my local favorite restaurant. I have it saved. They're not accepting orders until 8 a.m. for delivery, but I'm having them deliver it to me. So that's part of my birthday celebration. Sorry, I'm getting a little emotional here. It's just, this is hitting tough here. But Michael McDonald, who was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame via the Doobie Brothers, did a live Tiny Desk at Home concert. And he sounds just as good as he did back then. It's crazy. Because you're talking about classic rock. I was like, I was thinking about classic rock, Doobie Brothers, live desk concert. Because they were actually supposed to go on tour, Michael McDonald and the Doobie Brothers. They haven't done that in years. I was like, I wish I could be there. Along with the concert front, there is a concert that was normally supposed to happen when Human Malware wasn't in play. That happens in May. They still haven't said anything on delays or anything, but, in a couple of weeks, it's going to be May. I love that meme, by the way. You know which one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be
My-
nice. Justin Timberlake.
I still like that. I say, don't skip my birthday, but yes, I love this.
Hey, I love it too. I think it's great. And, I'm sure it probably bugs the living crap out of Justin Timberlake.
I wouldn't think it doesn't at this point. Because people only do it once a year. And I think he'd be the kind of dude that would just be like, ha ha ha, it's that time of year again.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of fun to laugh at yourself, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I would get really annoyed with that too.
Yeah. You're right. I would.
Although he did do the buy water commercial, and they had the buy in the background.
With
so,
Christopher Walken. Yes.
Yeah, so, he might have a really good sense of humor about it.
Yeah. I remember when that came out during the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm watching this. I'm like, okay, Christopher Walken. Okay. Wait, is this NSYNC lyrics? And then you see Justin Timberlake, and then it says, and then you actually hear it. And I'm like, oh, that's one of the best, in my opinion, in a very, very long time.
Yeah, I love that commercial.
So, to go back on emotional connection of music, you could tell I love Pearl Jam a lot just because I have a lot of their records, and I would love to have OG presses, but sometimes those things cost a lot of money, and I'm eternally jealous of you now because you got that promo copy. I would have easily dropped like $70 on that. Easy.
Oh, I know. I would have given him the 60. And, I was just like, I can't argue with 35.
No. And for me, I'm going to go off the Michael Federer kind of idea with that. He unsealed one of the records, and it's like, I'm unsealing it for you guys, but some of the records he buys are like $300 records.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about these reissues that you should, 100 reissues that are all analog that you should get. I was looking at one of them like, I got the $300 kind of money. What are you talking about? But he's, with what he does in the business, he can afford it. But if I'm going to drop a lot of money on something like that, unless it's one that is super rare and I don't feel like I can trust myself, I am going to listen to it.
Yeah.
Okay, there was one time I bought something for the explicit purpose of just having them sign it. And that was the 2015? Every year, I know my one friend who listens is going to roast me because I get a lot of details wrong sometimes. And you know who you are, you're listening right now. The Ain't It Fun 12-inch that looks like a broken record.
Uh-huh.
I bought that with the express purpose that if I ever got to meet them again, I was going to have them sign it. And they did. And I told Haley, I said, I bought this specifically so you guys can sign it. I've kept it sealed till now so you all would sign it. And she looks me in the eye and she says, are you absolutely sure I'm okay to open this? She gives me like this dead ass serious stare. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. So she opens it. Very cute, playfully, she accidentally drops the cover on the ground. So if you ever see the picture of it and why it's so dirty on the outside, it's because it got dropped on the ground. Just the outside sleeve. But they all signed it, and I don't need to play it because I have Ain't It Fun, and if I want to hear the Dutch Uncle remix, I can put it up digitally. But that's one instance where I have it as a display piece. I also have a test pressing of an album that I actually haven't listened to yet. I probably should, but because it's my only test pressing I've ever had, it's on the wall.
I gotcha. Those are kind of, valuable.
Yeah, but it's not like a valuable artist. But I got it on Record Store Day. I was one of the people that got my number pulled, and they said you can either have this or a test pressing a record. I'm like, you give me that test pressing. Now, it came in like a poly sleeve, and then it also had like a white sleeve. I had to, unfortunately, open it. I still have the stickers and everything, but I did have to open it to get it in the frame. So I have both records in the frame, but I don't have one of the covers on. But it's still protected in there.
Yeah.
But it's still for display only. I might pull it out and see if it's warped. It's probably not warped. I put it nicely in the frame. I made sure I basically put them both together and then in the frame. So I don't think I damaged anything.
Oh yeah, they should be fine.
Yeah. There is one more I would love to have, and for the money, I'm gonna play it, but there's 3 variants of it. So what I'm gonna do, like the thought would be, because it's a 7-inch by Tonight Alive, it's like one of their first EPs. They
Uh-huh.
released it on 3 different colors, and what I want to do is get all 3 colors, and then a 4th one to actually play.
Mm-hmm.
So then that way, it's like I have all 3 nicely displayed, and I still have a play copy. There's certain records for me that it doesn't matter the value; they're going up on the wall for sentimental reasons.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, when I first got into collecting, I told myself, I'm only gonna buy 1 copy of an album. Like, why do I need 2, 3, or 4 copies of the same album? I laugh at myself for that now too, because, you know, I had no idea what I was talking about. And I mean, I have a couple albums hanging up on my wall that are just sentimental to me.
Hmm.
And ones that, you know, I had doubles of in my collection. You know, either my parents gave them to me or, you know, one of my mom's friends gave me a couple records, stuff like that. And then I have my signed Queen album hanging up on my wall, which is probably like my holy grail. Like,
Yep.
that is my child, essentially. Um,
Yep.
but, you know, I don't really have a whole lot of albums framed, but I do have several copies of some of the same albums. I have some Japanese pressings of some albums that, you know, I already had US pressings of, and some albums I have US and UK pressings of, and I have original and reissues of some of the same albums. And do I need them all? No. But do I like the fact that I have them on my collection? Yeah, I do. So, you know.
Yep. And for me also, sometimes the song, the track listing is different from country to country,
Hmm.
especially if you're an AC/DC fan.
Yeah.
It is crazy insane with some of trying to track everything. So yeah. So now, without further ado, let's talk about Gigaton.
Yes.
So a lot of people are saying that their first album's up to no code, and uh, backspacer kind of on.
Hmm.
Basically, the first half and the second half are the most newbie friendly albums to go with.
Uh-huh.
And I would agree. Even this one right here, Gigaton, I wouldn't say it's the first listen. I might put it at. I would put it as a next step listen, even though I'm touting it as the album of the year so far.
Hmm.
But I really enjoyed this album.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the album too. I think that there's like a little something for everyone in this album.
Yes.
So I think it's very easy to listen to, and, you know, everyone can enjoy at least one song on this album.
Yes. And I cannot pick a favorite song because they're so different. I remember when I first heard Dance to the Clairvoyance. It was their first single, and I was like, okay, what is this? Why does and this is kind of the funny thing about it. People think Matt Cameron sounds like a drum machine.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, you had like that 80s flair with who produced it. And sorry about that, people. I need a sip of water. But what I like about it is the 80s feel of it. And of course, the guitar. You know, that dum dum da 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 da. I love that part of
Hmm.
it. Because when it's like one of those songs that it's like, it's kind of like, I don't want to say go or kind of songs off of verses, but it takes like a minute for it to get going. And a
Hmm.
minute is being not an actual minute of song time, but once you get into it, it like shoots off and it just does not stop.
Yeah,
Uh,
see, on first listen, I didn't really like the song.
I can see where you would think that, yes.
And, you know, I honestly didn't even listen to it again until I went and listened to the full album. Because for me, a lot of times I try not to listen to singles because I feel like sometimes if you don't have the single in the right context of the album, like the way it's meant to be, you can really misunderstand a song. Um,
Yes, yeah, I agree.
and so I told myself I wasn't going to listen to, you know, anything else from the album, and I wasn't going to listen to it again. I was going to listen to it in context of the album. And I definitely did like it more when I listened to it, like, in the album. It was, like, the
Hmm.
3rd track, I think. Um, but I did definitely like it more than when I just heard it by itself. So, if you're ever, like, interested in getting into a band, don't just listen to the singles, listen to full albums because you don't always get the proper context with just a single.
Right. And then we also had Super Blood Wolf Moon, which I loved right from the get go. If I thought, Dance of the Clairvoyants was kind of like their evolving, I felt
Mhm.
like this was a classic era Pearl Jam song. I really dug it right from the get go.
Yeah, I like this song too. Whenever I first heard it, I was like, this is a really good song. I think, the opening of the album was just phenomenal. Like the first, 5 or 6 tracks, I was like dead hooked to the album.
Yeah, and the linchpin for me, and we'll talk about Quick Escape in just a moment, which was their next single.
Mhm.
The linchpin for me for what kind of where I was initially when I first heard it was 9.5 because of the
Mhm.
song All Right, which is the halfway point for me. Because
Uh-huh.
7 o'clock, Never Destination, Take the Long Way, Buckle Up, Comes and Goes. The last 2 tracks are god tier for me, which we'll get into
Yeah,
in
I
a little bit.
really love those tracks.
Especially the wolf howling in Retrograde.
Yes, that's one of my favorites on this album. I really love that
And
song.
then River Cross just kind of closes and gives you this kind of closure. For me, I rank songs in a couple of ways. One
Mhm.
is how good is the album opener? How can it carry the energy through? And how
Mhm.
good is the album closer? I judge
Yes.
heavily on how an album closes. Does it make me want to go through and listen again? Or or do I just move on?
Yeah.
River Cross is not only that perfect button, you could take it out of context, still know where it came from, take it out of context, and it'd be a beautiful song.
Mhm.
It's a beautiful song on its own, but without it, it does not. It elevates it to something special. Just for this is me talking.
Mhm.
But of course, we had Quick Escape, which I, I knew that Gigatone was coming out in a couple of days, so I just passed on it, just listening to it. And I'm
Mhm.
so glad I did that because now I got it in full context. I mean, you're right. Basically, whoever said Super Blood Wolf Moon, Dance of the Clairvoyants, Quick Escape, and All Right, that first side is just
It's killer.
glorious.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And what I like about this album, from somebody who's like, I'm not considering myself a mega fan
Mhm.
because my number one band of overall time switches sometimes.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is I have kind of like a collection of 5 or 6 bands that I would say are my favorite of all time. And then my
Mhm.
mind will change, but those 5 are basically my number one band of all time.
Yeah, I'm
And
that same way.
because what I say right now is Tonight Live. That's probably still going to stay the same, but I'm going to put in that tier. I'm going to put Soundgarden. I'm going to put Alice in Chains. I'm going to put Pearl Jam. I'm going to put Paramore. Those essential ones are my number one favorite band
Mhm.
because those are the ones I listen to the most. Like Soundgarden, I'll switch between. I'll switch between Alice in Chains for a little while, this and that. So it really depends on my mood, but those are kind of my safe zone where no matter how many times I listen, I love them.
Yeah.
Uh, so what songs didn't, not saying they're bad, but didn't stick with you that well as say the first, say like Super Blood Wolf Moon?
Ooh. Um, I think the only song that I was really, like, unimpressed with was the song Never Destination.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely see that one being one. That was for me all right until I took a step back, let it sit for a couple of days, and then remember, yeah, I really like this. But I could Never Destination. Yes, I can agree on that one.
Yeah, that was the only one I think that, like, I would've taken out of the album. Everything else, I thought was pretty good. I definitely had, my favorites, but, I don't think I really disliked anything, and I really still don't dislike Never Destination, but I do think it is probably the weakest track on the album, in my opinion.
Yeah, and to me, I'm quietly listening to it back again because it's been a couple of days since I listened.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it gives me kind of the Do the Evolution Yield era, especially with some of the overstimulated vocals and the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see where the it doesn't connect with certain people with, and that's okay. You know, if you connect with the song, wonderful. If you don't, that's okay too. There is no judgment from me.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like the opening track and the closing track on this album were just phenomenal, which I know you mentioned that opening and closing tracks are really like key for you, and that's something I really listen to intently when I go into an album because you don't want to start off the album with something mediocre. You want something to get you hooked and interested, and you want something to kind of get you through the album. And you also don't want to close it on a bad note either. You want something that's, going to go out with a bang, going to make you want to listen to the album again. And I feel like they really did that with this album.
Mm-hmm.
I loved, everything in between made me, just want to keep listening. So I think they really did a great job with this. And I think that this is going to be something that just about anybody could listen to,
Yep.
especially if they're not like a huge Pearl Jam fan, because, I myself am not like the biggest Pearl Jam fan in the world. I'm kind of a casual fan.
Yes.
So coming from that aspect, I feel like you could really get into them through this album because it was a very beautiful, very well written album.
Absolutely, yes. And I agree there. It has kind of something for everybody, like you said. For the casual people, for the hardcore fans like me. And you don't have to be... All right, I'm going to have another take here. You're a hardcore fan no matter how much you listen to music and what medium you listen to the music on. If you can only have the money to get CDs and vinyl, and there's some that are just out of your reach, but you still listen to them on digital, you're a super fan. I don't care how many... Like, I don't have every single thing that Tonight Alive had physical. I don't have all their posters. That doesn't mean a bad thing.
Yeah.
I still love their music. I still have that connection. I would consider myself a super fan, but there's the super fan, and then there's that, hi, I'm a super fan. Oh. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I would rather personally have, some form of an album, whether it be digitally, CD, vinyl, cassette, whatever you listen to music on. I would rather have some form of the albums by my favorite bands as to a ton of shirts or posters or things like that. Because eventually you're going to run out of wall space. And I mean, you're going to run out of storage space because what are you going to do with a ton of magazines? And, what happens if you outgrow shirts or, something like that? I mean, I understand things are like collector's items, but just coming from a realistic point of view, where are you going to put some of this stuff? Because bands can release a lot of things. Bands can be on a lot of covers. They can release a ton of shirts and other random merchandise. And it's just, eventually it's going to catch up with you and you're not going to have a place to put it.
Let me tell you, as somebody who for a very long time collected every single Paramore magazine and Taylor Swift magazine, I have my collection now. I'm not planning on adding anything more unless it's something super special. It is a nightmare. It literally takes up, like, I would say, okay, so that's what, like, 3 feet of just one shelf for all the magazines that I still collect them every once in a while. Like, I'll find one that it's like, oh, I didn't have this one, or it has somebody I kind of like on the front that I didn't get initially. But I'm kind of stopping on the magazines. I recently got, the most recent magazine I got was just before Fear Inoculum came out last year. There was the Guitar magazine and I think one other one where they're talking to Adam Jones. It was the Guitar World magazine, not Guitar World, but the Guitar-centric magazine, and then there was another one that I pre-ordered that had Tool on it. Revolver. That was it. It was Revolver. Those are the last two I bought. I have read them. They're in my record room right now, but I haven't touched them. So, if you like to collect the magazines, great. But all my old Paramore shirts are now stitched together, waiting because I'm making them into a blanket.
Yeah, see, that's what I plan on doing with a lot of my band shirts, especially ones I wore in like middle school and high school.
Yes.
I think that's, a really great idea to do with things like that, to make a big blanket because you can never honestly have too many blankets. But, I used to collect a lot of the like really girly, like teen girl magazines like J14
Oh,
and the Pop
yes.
whatever and all that kind of, the girly stuff when you're in like middle school and like, oh my
Hmm.
gosh, I love, the newest pop artist or whatever. And I collected a lot of those, and I recently just trashed a ton of those because I know people are probably gonna kill me, like, when they hear that, like, "Oh my god, you trashed," all these things, but where am I gonna put them? They were taking up
Exactly.
too much space, and I had no emotional attachment to them.
I think I need to start looking at my magazines more. I might just pull them out just because it's just like I have like my Harry Potter book collection. I'm not going to
Mhm.
get rid of those. I have emotional attachment to them. I remember going out at midnight to get Half Blood Prince and Deathly Hollows. I remember stuff like that, and I'm going to keep my first editions.
Uh-huh.
They're not going to be worth any money for me, but it doesn't matter because I have paperback, and I did paperback for 3 of the novels, and then a bunch of them on hardback. Look, I'm probably going to go get the Hufflepuff edition of it, but what I would love is to get a UK version of it because they have the proper pronunciations of things. Like, instead of saying they ate potato chips, they ate crisps. I'm so used to hearing the British pronunciation of things
Uh-huh.
that when I read it back, I'm like, what the F is this? When they tried to Americanize it because
Yeah.
back then, the Americans don't know no British talk. I'm like, come on, it's
Yeah.
set in Britain. If I wanted to read about Livermore, I would have wanted a book written in American set there. It is set in Britain, use the proper terminology. And it still bugs
Yeah,
me to this day, it's Sorcerer's Stone. It's Philosopher's Stone. We don't know what philosophers are? Come on.
I'm probably gonna get so much hate for this, but I do not like Harry Potter, like, I've
Fair
just
enough.
never gotten into it. I have tried and tried. I have picked up the Harry Potter books so many times to try and read, and I couldn't. I can't make it through a movie. I am awful. But I feel like if you're gonna have a book set in the UK, you need to have the same dialect. I mean, we don't go changing all of these classics that, people from the UK and France and Germany and, Italy, we don't go changing their words. And, you still make teenagers try and decipher what they mean using Old English, which is a lot harder to understand than,
Yep.
crisps. It's chips. It's not that difficult.
It bugs me. It bugs me. And that's just something there. But, yeah, going back to our album openers and closers.
Hmm.
Example, Black Dog and When the Levee Breaks. Led Zeppelin 4.
Yeah.
I would put that up there. Tonight Alive, Book of Love, and Cap My Underworld. The duet with Corey Taylor. We could look at any of the Paramore albums, for example.
Uh-huh.
You look at Careful and All I Wanted. Each kind of, amazing to kind of get you started off and then kind of be the closer for everything. Even Future, we could say, arguably from Paramore's self-titled album, is a wonderful closing track. So, for me, I weigh heavily. Like I said, they're not equal. I actually weigh a little bit more on the closing track than I do the opening track.
Uh-huh.
Just because it's the last thing you're going to hear before you move on to the next album. What kind of statement are you trying to make?
Yeah, it's, what is this album about? Is this going to leave a lasting impression? I feel like your closing track is really your big hitter. But, I feel like if you don't have a good first track, I'm probably not going to be as attentive to the rest of the album. And if you don't have a good closing track, I'm probably not going to come back to the album.
Yeah. Another one we could talk about. One of my top 10 favorite albums of all time. Black Parade.
Uh-huh.
We could talk to death about the Black Parade, but the closer. Oh my goodness! And I'm not talking about the hidden track.
Mm-hmm.
Famous Last Words.
Yeah.
In my opinion, one of the best one of the best rock songs ever written.
I do love that song.
And that song rings with me today. And that album, somebody said this is basically this generation's, and this is, just take this with a grain of salt because we know how beautiful this album is. Mm-hmm. This is basically this generation's A Night at the Opera.
Ooh, that's a heavy hitter for me.
But what they're saying is, for that generation, like the emo generation, Welcome to the Black Parade is their Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, wow. Okay, I've never thought about comparing that.
No, I don't think about comparing it either. It's not like a comparison. What I'm saying.
I get what you mean, yeah.
I can see where they're coming from with that, but, Night at the Opera is Night at the Opera, and Black Parade is Black Parade, but I'm just using that as an example of the closer track.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, I can see definitely the influence on the emo generation, because if you like, emo music and you grew up in the early 2000s, you liked My Chemical Romance. Like, that was the thing. And I feel like anybody who likes music likes A Night at the Opera by Queen. I mean, even if you're not a Queen fan, I feel like you like that album.
Yeah.
Which, funny, we bring Queen into this discussion. Most people know Queen is one of my favorite bands. Mm-hmm. And I've been working on doing a few, ranked series where, I rank some albums, by my favorite bands, and I go through their whole discography. And currently I'm working on Queen because they have a huge discography. And yes, I've heard all of their albums, but I really want to, dive into each of them. And so I've been watching a lot of people's videos on YouTube about, them ranking the album, seeing kind of everyone's thoughts, weighing my thoughts with theirs, seeing if there's something, maybe that I haven't thought of that I maybe agree on or disagree on, just, to get other opinions. And so many people say A Night at the Opera is their favorite Queen album. And for me, that's really hard because I do get where it's a great album. I'm not knocking the album. But sometimes I feel like it's overrated, and it can make me overlook you as a Queen fan, which sounds really, really harsh, and I'm not meaning it to be harsh, but I feel like people who say they like the popular things aren't always a big fan of the band, and that's so awful for me to say, but I'm do you not enjoy any of the Queen deep cuts, any of the Queen albums that are kind of, essentially underrated? Yeah. I mean, I get A Night at the Opera has Bohemian Rhapsody, which is the greatest rock opera to have ever been written.
Yep.
But is it really their best album? Or is it just their most popular?
Do you know why?
Just a question. Food for thought.
Food for thought. I feel the same way about 10. I feel the same way about Pearl Jam 10. I like it. It's a good album. But come on, have you heard Versus?
Thank you. My entire point, every time I watch these videos, I'm but Sheer Heart Attack. Sheer Heart Attack, because that's my favorite Queen album.
Yes.
And I'm over there screaming, no. There was somebody who put, Sheer Heart Attack at number 13 out of their 15 studio albums. And I almost died. I tell you, I flat out just laid in my bed and cried for a solid 5 minutes because that is my favorite album. And I think that's the lowest ranking I've ever seen anyone put Sheer Heart Attack. Usually Sheer Heart Attack is in the top 5, top 7, which that's fine if, you want to diss Sheer Heart Attack like that. But when it got that number 13, and I was no. And then somebody ranked Hot Space above it, and I was okay, that's just rude. Because, I mean, I love Hot Space. I am one of the Queen fans that actually really enjoys Hot Space. A lot of Queen fans don't, but, I think it's fun. And, you know, as much as I like it, I don't think it's, better than Sheer Heart Attack.
Can I?
And I wouldn't put it that highly on my list. It would be higher than most people, giving it like, the last place or, 14 or whatever, but I just don't think it's better than Sheer Heart Attack.
Yeah. Can I tell you I love Bohemian Rhapsody, of course, but
Uh-huh.
my two favorite Queen songs of all time, like somebody put gun to your head, give me your top three.
Uh-huh.
It's Bohemian Rhapsody, Who Wants to Live Forever, Princess of the Universe.
Ooh, good songs. Good songs.
Because I love, 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 love the movie Highlander.
Hmm.
And I was like, when I first heard Who Wants to Live Forever, I got chills.
I love that song. It's so beautiful.
And then Princess of the Universe, I mean, we could talk about that all day. But for me, a song that is overrated, not saying it's bad,
Uh-huh.
I have to be in the mood for it, is We Will Rock You.
Hey, I agree. I think I've heard it at every ball game I've ever been to. And,
Okay,
it's a good song, but at some point, you just need to let it go.
I mean, I like We Are the Champions a little more, but okay.
Yeah.
I used to work at a water park.
Hmm.
And I used to work in one of the food stalls. It was indoors, air conditioned, although it was air conditioned in the front, not in the kitchen. But I used to be a cook.
Hmm.
And what song did they choose to play to set up their wave pool?
Aw.
We Will Rock You. And not the full song, just the first verse through halfway through the first chorus.
Oh, no.
Once every 10 minutes.
Oh, no, no way.
For 5 straight summers.
Oh, goodness.
So, I like it,
Hmm.
but I'm not going to actively, if it's part of, like, if I buy a greatest hits compilation, it's on there, I'm going to listen to it,
Yeah.
but I'm like, please, no.
Yeah, honestly, like if any Queen song comes up on shuffle when I'm on my phone or when I'm,
Yep.
listening to the radio or whatever, I'm not going to skip it because
No.
it's Queen. It's a good
Yeah.
song. But I do agree that song is kind of overrated. And, you know, I'm so loving this discussion right now because I've not had anybody to like bounce ideas off of because, it's so hard for me to rank albums from my favorite bands.
Yeah, it's hard
And
for me too. Because
Jared always says I'm weird because, I know I just like gave this big rant about, people saying A Night at the Opera is the best Queen album. And my favorite album from them is Sheer Heart Attack. Spoiler alert, that's definitely going to be my number one. Like, I don't think anything could surpass that album. But my favorite song from Queen is actually on their album A Night at the Opera. And it's one that I never, ever hear anyone talk about. And it's the song 39.
oh,
And the fact that no one talks about it just pains me because I think it is one of their best songs ever.
yeah.
But Jared said that's weird. He's like, you love Sheer Heart Attack, so why wouldn't like your favorite song from them be off of Sheer Heart Attack?
Okay, this is a great discussion here. Remember when
Maybe
I said
I don't make sense.
no? You remember when I said my favorite album by Pearl Jam is the Avocado album?
Uh-huh.
But I said their best album is Versus?
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
I can have an emotional attachment to it, but I can realize in the scope of things that overall, not critically thinking, but just overall thinking wise, this is objectively better in terms of sonic quality, in terms of connecting kind of everything together, in terms of song, in terms of this and that, in terms of thinking. But I could still have a favorite and it not be the number one and still agree that this is the number one.
Yeah.
You're the same way. I as soon as you said that, I'm like, I totally agree. I totally get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
He so did not understand that. And he's like, what? And I'm like, A Night at the Opera is a great album. I feel like it's probably going to be in my top 5 or 6.
Yeah.
For sure. But I don't exactly know where it's going to be because I am like diving so deep and like just getting every little thought I can in my head about the album.
Yeah,
Um,
go for it.
I'm trying so hard to like pick my favorite and, really figure out what album is better than, this album or that album or whatever. And, you know, I love the song 39. I think it's a fantastic song. It had me from the moment I heard it. Like, I heard it just, stand alone. I didn't hear it in the full album the first time I heard it. And
Hmm.
I loved it. And I do think it is the best song on that album. And nobody talks about it. And it really just like upsets me because it is such a beautiful song.
Hmm.
And I know you have a myriad of beautiful songs on that album, but ooh, if you've never listened to that song,
Yeah.
or you've never really paid attention to that song, please do, because it is beautiful.
I'm actually, now that the MIDI concert's over, I'm listening to it in my earphone. You're not going to be able to hear it, but just to get an idea, because I haven't visited in a while,
Uh-huh.
this is a beautiful song.
I know, it's so good. Jared and I are actually going to play it at our wedding. I convinced him to let me play some Queen songs at our wedding.
Awesome.
So, haha.
And I'm sending you all the good vibes because I know you're still planning it. I know you said it's the end of the year. I'm hoping that we get through all this so you can still have it safe
Oh
and
gosh,
sound.
I'm hoping so.
Oh my goodness, why are people not talking about this song?
I know. Thank you. Finally, someone understands. It pains me because everyone mentions A Night at the Opera, or I mean, I've even heard people like getting really excited about Lazing on a Sunday Afternoon recently.
Mhm.
Death on Two Legs is one I feel like is really popular. I'm in Love with My Car is
Yep.
really popular. I mean, there are so many popular songs on this album. I mean, I could keep going, but I'm not going to. But like this song is one that no one talks about. They'll talk about every other song on this album, but not 39. And it is just a masterpiece.
It is. I'm pausing it now, but it is a masterpiece. And I'm glad that somebody has that kind of same thought as me when it comes to album rankings.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said earlier, one of my favorite songs by the Pearl Jam is Inside Job. It is not on their greatest hits. Songs like Nothing As It Seems would be on there. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
Love About Captain would be kind of a hot. One of my favorite. I mean, I love that song. It's hard to pick a favorite, but for emotional connection to it is the song "I Am Mine," which is
Mm-hmm.
off of Riot Act, which is arguably one of their harder to listen to albums because they kind of got like not samey but kind of slower with some of the things that they did as they kind of went on.
Uh-huh.
And some people say trim the fat. That's what they did is they got when it comes and hits backspace or kind of on up. But let me just pull up the name of this. There was a festival
Mm-hmm.
that Pearl Jam had played, and Eddie had talked about this. Had talked about this in 2000. He had taught. Well, I actually have video of this. Yes, I took video at a concert. Shut up. It's vertical too. Shut up. I can find a better quality, but it's for my consumption in mine alone. But
I
Eddie
do that too. It's okay.
I have Stinkfist because at Tool they said no phones, no cameras, and I'm like, you know what? Since everybody's doing it and Maynard's kind of like being a joke anyway, I'm just gonna do Stinkfist myself just so I can have it. And I shot it in 4K. But Eddie was talking about how it was 2016 and they had played. They played in Hampton, Virginia, but they're used to going to Virginia Beach. So
Uh-huh.
they had played 8 years before that, and then they had played 8 years before that. So he says we're kind of like locusts. I think he meant cicadas, but still. I think he meant
Yeah.
cicadas. But he still botched the entire analogy as he went along. But he says, we're kind of like locusts. We come out every couple of years, make a bunch of racket, and then this is the part of the analogy where I'm forgetful. We sow a bunch of seeds. No, we lay a bunch of eggs, and then 8 years later we're back. So he messed up the analogy of a messed up analogy. That's what I love about Eddie. If you have a chance to listen to Eddie the Bootlegs, what I'm referring to about the bootlegs is Pearl Jam records. They've done it since like 2000. Every single concert they have performed, sans maybe a handful, they recorded the audio so you don't have to. And you could buy the audio from your concerts. So if you went to see Pearl Jam like I did in Hampton, Virginia in 2016 in April, it's April 18th, I believe. You can get the bootleg of your concerts in high quality, high mixed quality, uncut. Yeah, it was April the 18th in 2016. So 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 24, 25? 2025 or 2024 is when they should be back. But Eddie was talking about, he remembered one time they were in Virginia Beach, and they had just gotten back from one of the shows, one of the hardest shows they ever played. And they were a little bit apprehensive about going back on stage. I'll go over what happened in just a moment. But he says they were a little apprehensive going on stage. They felt a little trapped, and it was a rainy night. They couldn't open the window. And Eddie basically kind of wrote "I Am Mine" in a Virginia Beach hotel room, feeling trapped in the rain after this hard time. And that's why it's arguably my favorite, is because it is such a... If you read some of their lyrics... like especially on Alive and Jeremy, that's some dark shit.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about the Mansman, it's 2024, by the way. If we're talking about the Mansman trilogy, that is dark. Like, are you aware of that trilogy?
I'm not.
Okay, so if you listen to Oceans, I think it's Oceans, Jeremy, and... not Oceans Alive. Oceans, Alive, and Footsteps. Let me run that down before I talk about the Rocksleed incident, because we're going dark. We're going dark because Pearl Jam went there. And I love dumping off the information, of this all here. So let me get this up here. But it's the Mansman trilogy. So it goes Alive, Once, and Footsteps. So Alive is about a kid who finds out that his dad is not his blood father, and dealing with that. But also, and this is the lyrics. I warned everybody. We're going to warn everybody about this now. It's about to get really, really, really dark. The mother basically sleeps with her son because he looks like his dad. You didn't actually...
Oh, lovely.
You didn't actually... I bet you I ruined that song for you now, because now you're singing Alive, but now you actually know what the song is about. Pearl Jam is...
I'm thinking about it.
Dumb. I'm still going to enjoy the song, but Pearl Jam is dark.
Yeah. I guess I've never really thought about a lot of their lyrics.
Once is basically the kid becomes a serial killer. And then Footsteps, he becomes a serial killer. He relives it without pain. Of course, had slept with his mom. And then it's kind of like, if you look at some of the lyrics with everything, and then Footsteps is kind of just like the aftermath, And of course, the Jeremy story of the kid who shot himself in front of his classmates. That's what Jeremy's about. Even the mother of the song, and I'm going to just defend both parties here, says that she doesn't like the song because it doesn't represent her son who did it, and she doesn't like that it got popular. Which, fair statement enough there. Yeah. I 100% agree. I'm still going to enjoy the song, but I have that in the back of my mind as I'm thinking about the song, it adds gravity to it, and it's just one person's take on it. And it, you know, people could say about based on a true Hollywood story, you know, based on a true story. Think of it as its own entity. Yes, it was inspired by, but this is me, and I'm not telling you how you should feel about it. But I can listen to it and still understand where it came from.
Yeah.
So we're going back to I Am Mine and eventually Love Boat Captain, which is one of the hardest singles to find. It's one of those stupid expensive singles, and they repressed it, thank God. Thank goodness. I don't like to say that much, but thank goodness. In 2000, Pearl Jam were playing and I am so sorry if I am butchering this, Roskilde, Roskilde, Denmark. They were playing that festival, and it was very much raining. It's an outdoor festival. 9 people died, and 26 people were injured. 3 of them seriously. A 17-year-old. A lot of people died by trampling at that show.
No.
Yeah, so you can imagine they're being apprehensive. And this was also about the time they were in a vicious fight with Ticketmaster. If you have not read Pearl Jam versus Ticketmaster, I implore you to do so. So, you know, they were basically saying, you guys need to be held responsible, this or that. And some of them still connect with the families, from my understanding. I don't want to comment on this because even though it is 20 years old, I will never know how you feel that way if you're listening to this and your family member was involved in this. You know, people were just trying to go have a good day, and a lot of people were hurt during that, and it was a freak accident. But you could see why they were so apprehensive to go on stage.
Mm-hmm.
This was like one of the first shows, or the first show back after that incident. And if you listen to I Am Mine now, and even Love Boat Captain is direct reference to this, I can see why people don't like Riot Act, or even like binaural, when it goes like binaural Riot Act and the Avocado kind of being the low point. I understand what they were going through. Yeah. Please. Like, for me, objectively, listening wise, my least favorite, even though I love a bunch of songs off of it, was No Code, because you can hear the problems they had during this time. Mm-hmm. But also, I can listen to Riot Act and Binaural. Those are the ones I don't know that much. And if those happen to be the ones that I get for my birthday, I'm not guessing what my friend's giving me, but if those might be the ones, or whatever, whenever I get them, I've been listening to them on Spotify. I didn't get a chance to listen to them on Gigaton. Like, if I ever get those, I'm going to listen to those with a grain of salt, especially Riot Act, because people love that album. And what I'm saying this is, Pearl Jam, to me, has no bad album. Mm-hmm. You can find the album that you want to love. But please, for the love of everything, do not start with No Code. Do not start with Riot Acts, Binaural, or the Avocado album. These are for those people who starting to like Pearl Jam and have listened to what we've talked about earlier. You know, Temple of the Dog, even though it is not Pearl Jam's name on it, it's Matt Cameron, it's Jeff Ament, it's Stone Gossard, and it's Eddie Vedder, which is basically Pearl Jam. But it is fronted by Chris Cornell. And if you love Chris Cornell, you're going to love this. Mm-hmm. And this was a tribute to Andrew Wood, who we just talked about it earlier, Mother Love Bone. Unfortunately, they were about to... a couple of weeks before their debut album, Andrew passed away from drug overdose. Yeah. And he was a roommate of Chris Cornell's, and he did this as a tribute album. Even then, if you want to go back further, Stone Gossard and Jeff Ament were buddies in Green River. So if you want to even touch on that, like I watched Crash Thompson's video on Pearl Jam, like I was talking about earlier. He doesn't even mention Green River. Like, why does nobody mention Green River? A couple of these guys have been friends forever and have been writing music forever. So for me, just so you know, we're at an hour and a half, and I could talk for like hours on this, but I'm going to now kind of do my walkthrough of the albums and what I think. Now that we've kind of taken an hour and a half for me to formulate this, and I've been thinking about this for a very long time, if you're going to start out listening to Pearl Jam, my recommendations are start with 10. Always start with 10.
Yes.
Because then you'll know you'll like it. If you like it there, okay. My suggestion is also after 10, if you need kind of not a palate cleanser, but some people, they need to like listen to something else before they go to the next album, because some people get burnt out by listening to a full discography run. My next suggestion is go back and listen to Temple of the Dog, because then you can see where they're coming from to 10. And then my next suggestion is, if you liked 10 and everything, great, you can listen to the MTV Unplugged, because it was just right about after then, because it was just before Versus. But I would wait till later for that, unless you really like acoustic albums like me. My next step would be Versus. Go ahead and listen to Versus next. So 10, followed by Temple of the Dog, then Versus, then Vitology, and then I'm actually going to skip No Code. No Code's going to be for, yeah, you need to be kind of a real mega fan for that. And I'm going to say listen to Yield after that. So if you listen to those run of albums, put off the middle for a little while, and then go ahead and start with Lightning Bolt after that. Then you'll listen to Gigaton after that. And then from there, you're going to kind of take a step back from Lightning Bolt and listen to Backspacer. If you can handle Backspacer, I recommend then you take a listen to Pearl Jam's self-titled album. From there, I can then recommend that you take a listen to Binaural. And even then, if you're still okay with that, listen to Riot Act, and then finally No Code. No Code is probably the hardest to listen to, but I still like it. And that's not a definitive ranking. It's just kind of my thoughts on where I think for a new listener, or even somebody who's casual fan, can go in and take a listen to. I mean, we're going to praise Versus until the end of time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's definitely my favorite album from them.
And the main reason why I think objectively it's the best of theirs is they took the energy of 10 and kicked it up to 11.
Yep.
Like, take the energy, double it, and then add one more. And that is Versus. And, you know, there's just so many good songs on here. Dissident, Daughter, Go, Animal, Elderly Woman Behind the Counter in a Small Town, which somebody made the joke, it's like they were emo before emo. Like, if you think about it, that is the title of a Panic at the Disco or Fall Out Boy song.
Yeah, I could see that. I feel like the emo phase was kind of inspired by a lot of the grunge.
Yep, I agree.
As well, so I feel like they got inspiration from, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, a lot of the Seattle, 90s.
The Seattle Big Four,
already
yeah.
kind of mentioned, yeah.
We could also give shout out to like Screaming Trees, Mudhoney. I mean, there's the Big Four, but that whole Seattle scene is like amazing with rock. But for me, it's kind of like it's their heaviest. It almost has metal influences on some of it, but indifference is what makes it to God tier for me. And what do I mean by God tier? Like, this is an untouchable 10 out of 10 album.
Yeah.
Take it as what you will. But, like I said earlier, arguably my favorite is the Avocado. But overall, thoughts on their best is Versus. See, I can have a favorite, but arguably think that one is
better.
Yes. I'm so glad there is somebody else who can understand that mindset.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy to think, well, what do you mean that best? It should be your favorite, right? No.
Yeah. No. I mean, I think that, like, Sheer Heart Attack overall trumps everything, but
Hmm.
I do think that 39 is still the best. And, I do like a lot of the songs, on Sheer Heart Attack as well, but I do think 39 trumps a lot of those songs on there. Even though I do love every single song on that album, and I love it with my whole heart, and it will always be my number one Queen album.
Yeah.
I can definitely admit that that song is better than the songs on Sheer Heart Attack, and that's like take that with a grain of salt because that's so hard for me to say because I
Yeah.
love all of the songs.
Yeah.
I say everything's my favorite, and like that is what is so hard for me, especially when it comes to talking about favorite albums and favorite songs by my favorite bands because I'm like, oh, this album's my favorite, and then I'm like, oh no, that album's my favorite, and I just
Yeah.
keep going and going and going and going.
For me, you know me, I'm generally mostly a positive person.
Uh-huh.
It takes a lot for me not to like a song, but I also take it with I might not like this song, but there's going to be somebody who likes this song.
Yeah.
I think it's their favorite. Although, if your favorite song is Gucci Gang, we need to have a long talk.
Oh no. No, 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 no. That can be nobody's favorite song.
You
I'm
know what
kidding.
I mean, though.
If you like the song, okay, but why? Just explain to me why.
Yes, yes.
I want to know what about that song. I like the parody. There's this parody to the song on YouTube, and I can't remember the exact name of it, but I'll have to search it up and message it to you. It is hilarious. I love parodies, and it made me laugh so hard. So,
I mean, some people, um, their favorite is like a very, very old song because it names their town.
mhm,
Like Arthur Godfrey's I'm a Ding Dong Daddy from Dumas because it
mhm,
mentions their song name. And they're very proud of that fact that their town is mentioned in a song, no matter how
yeah.
old it is. Like, you know what? It doesn't matter when the song came out. If you love it, love it. Like
Oh
Elvis.
yeah,
Elvis is classic. To me, it's
yeah.
like just classic music.
I feel like everyone could like something from his discography. He
Yep.
had a little bit of everything, so
Like, I'm not going to say he's like my overall favorite, but you're right. There
mhm,
is something I absolutely do like from his discography. There's something to like for everybody with him.
yeah. I mean, he had such a wide range of genres, and I think that's really a defining artist in my music taste because people tend to kind of stick to the same genres. A lot of people will like, modern rock and classic rock too, but a lot of people if they like rock, they kind of tend to stick at the rock and pop genres and not everyone branches out and really enjoys just about every music genre, but I can honestly say I like a little bit of something from every genre. And I
Hmm.
think Elvis really played a part in that because he didn't do just rock and pop. He did country, he did gospel. I mean, he did so much, and I will forever be eternally grateful for everything that he put out because it just really made me have an open mind to music.
Yep. I'll say some of my favorites when I was a kid. Uh, I don't like them as much now, but the Beach Boys,
I
especially
love the
because.
Beach Boys.
But reading some of their history, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of just keeping a little bit farther arm's length with them.
Mhm.
Uh, Doobie Brothers, we talked about them earlier.
Mhm.
Who else? Billy Joel, Kenny Loggins. Who else did I grow up with? Chicago. Oh, I could talk about Chicago for another podcast. Like, honestly, I love Chicago.
My dad's a big Chicago fan, but I never really got into them. I really got into Queen
Yep.
and Journey. And mom had a Billy Joel CD that I loved and wore out. Um, and Kiss, that was another big one that I listened to. Poison was another huge one for me that I really got into. Um, And I just have a lot of special memories with those
Yeah.
bands. So,
I'm not as big a fan of Kiss.
uh-huh.
I can enjoy their music, but I'm not going to say like it's one of those bands that like I have to be in the mood for, but I still enjoy what I hear. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that's Def Leppard sometimes for me, but it's
Mm-hmm.
more lately kind of I still like them because I have both good and bad memories attached to them.
Yeah.
So
I get you.
so it's kind of like that. But back when before I had a favorite band, my favorite band was Coldplay.
Not a bad band.
No, I like some of their more recent stuff, but I listened to X and Y heavily. I remember Speed of Sound. Still,
Mm-hmm.
I know they hate playing it now, but it's still one of my favorite songs of all time. I don't care. I love Talk. Oh my goodness, I could talk about Talk for like an hour and a half as to why it's such a beautiful song. But we can save that for another podcast. I think we have another idea for an episode where you lead the charge and we talk about Queen.
Ooh.
I would love that. And that will actually kind of force me to, I don't know every single song, that will force me to actually go and check out their entire discography. So I am fully prepared.
Okay. Um, I'm definitely 100% for that.
We'll
I
do it. We'll do it.
will babble on and on about Queen. I definitely want to kind of gather the rest of my thoughts before we do that. I kind of want
Oh,
to,
yeah. You
gather
take
my
your time.
thoughts.
But I think that would be a good episode, and I'd like you to lead on that.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm leading here on Pearl Jam, because I am the guru, and I spout off all this information, and you kind of forget once you get all this information that some people don't know this information.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about it and people are like, dude, you should go to like a bar and like enter their trivia nights. That's the biggest compliment. And one of my favorite streamers, Laura Pickles, giving her a shout out here. She suggested that we do this via video eventually.
Uh-huh.
So I'd be for that, because then we can actually show albums and talk about them. I would be 100% for that. But for right now, like we said, we're keeping it to just audio.
Yeah.
But that was one of the biggest compliments, is somebody actually, and you guys all taking time to actually sit down and listen to us.
Yeah, no, that really means a lot, because I feel like I'm so uninteresting, and so the fact that people are interested in hearing me talk about music just blows my mind.
Mm-hmm. And especially because you and I, now I realize that we think alike on certain things, which is, I thought I was kind of weird with, like I said earlier, with the favorite album versus best album.
Oh yeah, Jared tells me I'm weird for that. I don't pay any attention to that. I'm like, who cares? Whatever. I'm right in my own head. Even if no one else agrees with me, my head says I'm right. So
that needs to be on a T-shirt. My head says I'm right.
Yep, there we go.
But
that's the way to phrase that.
No, because then you'll look narcissistic. It'll just say, when it comes to music, my head is. But when it comes to music, and I think you'll have a gold mine of a T-shirt.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I could go on and on and on about all my favorite music, and I'm glad that people actually want to listen to that.
Yeah.
I know Jared probably gets tired of all my music talk.
Yeah, I honestly am not tired of it, because it is a passion of mine. And I think everybody, I can hear the passion of yours too. And, I'm just some getting old fat dude talking about music on my channel. And it's great to have a wonderful co-host to talk about it.
I know. Hey, I know you're such a wonderful co-host. I love chatting about music. I feel like I learn something every time we do one of these podcasts, because I mean, you know so much about everything, and I'm just like, I know nothing. Like I leave the podcast like, I know nothing. Do I know anything about music at all? Am I a music lover?
Please don't ever feel like that. I actually learned so much from you.
Oh, really?
Yes, I learned so much about. I mean, I knew about Queen, but I feel like we're both kind of teaching each other and teaching people that are listening. And that's what I love about music, is you could be an expert or a pseudo-expert in something, but you could still expand your knowledge to something else. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
yeah. I mean, there's so much out there that you'll never know everything, and it's just so crazy to think about all the, bands out there and all the music out there that you'll never get to hear, and,
It doesn't make
oh,
me
it's a
sad though.
vast yeah, it's a vast world out there. Also, one more thing on the
Yep.
Queen note, everyone sleeps on Roger Taylor. That is all I'm gonna say. I know I'll talk more about it in the episode we do on Queen, but
Yeah.
everyone's sleeping on Roger Taylor.
Yeah. Are you okay with Adam Lambert still touring around and helping them spread the music of Queen?
Oh, oh, um, I love Adam Lambert.
Yeah.
As I personally think he's got a very great personality. He seems very genuine, very generous,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he, you know, is a very great vocalist. But I personally think that no frontman could ever achieve
No.
what Freddie achieved for Queen.
No.
And you know, um, I like the fact that, Bohemian Rhapsody really introduced a lot of people to Queen. And I like that, Adam is going on tour with Queen and still introducing people to Queen's music, because I think Queen is one of those bands that has a little something for everyone. I think
Yep.
that, a lot of people could really love this band. And, to me, they did no wrong. Like, I hardly ever say that about a band, but even their weakest album is a good album. And I think that it's good they're spreading it, but like it's so hard for me because I like Adam Lambert
Mm-hmm.
solo and I love Queen, but putting them together for me is just a concept that I can't really grasp.
Yeah,
Um,
I can totally see where you're with that. And for me, kind of being in the back here, do you mind if I give my
mhm.
take on it?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I love Adam Lambert. I was rooting for him when he was an American Idol.
Yes.
I was shocked when he was cut, but then I
Oh, I
watched the
know.
Queen and Adam Lambert special, and I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, now I see why. But to me, it doesn't feel like they're trying to replace Freddie.
Yeah, yeah.
That's one thing I'm okay with. Two, it feels like a giant sing along,
Hmm.
which is, I think, the intent of it. You're still seeing Brian May do his thing on guitar.
Yeah, which he's a killer guitarist. I swear, everyone sleeps on everybody else in Queen, and I'm not meaning this in any way, shape, form, or fashion to be like a horrible statement, but Freddie Mercury, yes, was an amazing human being, just
Yes.
all around amazing. But everyone sleeps on Brian and Roger and John, and I think they don't get enough credit. Uh, like
Yeah.
Freddie gets all the credit, I feel like sometimes, and that is no way like
No,
trying to
no, I
bash him.
love Brian May. And if I
But
got
yeah.
the chance to go see Adam Lambert in Queen, I'd wanted to go see Brian May shred on the guitar.
Oh yeah, I would go. Like if I got tickets, if somebody gave me tickets to go see Queen with Adam Lambert, oh heck yeah, I'd go. But I mean, I do agree with you that I don't think they're trying to replace Freddie. But I think for me, it's really hard to wrap my head
Yes,
around someone
yes.
singing the songs other than Freddie. Just, I was maybe like 6 or so whenever I really like actually listened to this Queen Greatest Hits CD that my parents had.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I played it on repeat. And I think it's just, loving this band for almost 16 years at this point, because, I'm almost 21. So
Yep.
loving this band for that long and, really memorizing Freddie's voice and the way he sings things. And Adam is so different from that. And I think that that's a really cool take as well, is that
Yes.
he doesn't try to be like Freddie
No.
whenever he sings. He's himself. And
Yes.
Brian and Roger have actually both, been in an interview and have said that they think Freddie would be proud of Adam. Like they would
Yeah.
really like his personality and the spirit that he brings to the band.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of agree with that. I think that he would be proud of where they are now and
Yeah.
how many new generations have gotten into Queen because of the film and
Yes.
them still touring. I mean, I toured with other people as well.
Yeah.
Paul Rogers is another big one that they toured with for a
Yeah.
while. And I really love that. I
And
love that they're still
Yeah.
getting Queen out there, because there are so many people who love and adore Queen. There are also so many people who don't know a lot about Queen.
Yeah.
So,
And I will say this for some people who are going to make, but. I've watched some some videos of live performance.
hmm
They still let Freddie sing. Even though it's taped, Adam steps back and lets Freddie sing while the
hmm
guys play live. That to me makes it so it's like this is, yes, it's a tribute show, but
hmm
only because unfortunately Freddie is not here and we didn't have the medicine and everything that we have now where he could still be alive.
yeah, I'm so devastated. I mean, he died before I was born,
Yeah.
and that like devastates me every day.
You know what devastates me every day? Chris Cornell.
Yeah,
I,
that was really hard.
it's, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about Chris Cornell, and I bet you that you're the same with Freddie.
hmm
So so this might be some people's only chance to see Queen
Yeah.
because it's just Adam being there to help facilitate vocals,
hmm
and that's why I'm okay with it. They're not trying to replace.
Yeah.
When Adam, I'm not using comparisons, but when Adam left 3 Days Grace and they went with Matt as the singer, I
hmm
still like them. I like a lot of Matt's singing. He's different, but they tuned it to him. That's not what Queen is doing.
Yeah.
Stone Temple Pilots, Scott Weiland passed away. They're moving on. It just, to me, I can get through a lot of it. I saw them live with the new singer. It didn't feel authentic to me.
hmm
And I haven't listened. I mean, I still listen to the old stuff, but I haven't listened to their new stuff. And I'm like, when Weiland left and they had Chester Bennington in there, that felt a little more authentic to me.
Yeah.
Because there is a couple of songs that he did with them, and those are really good. But to me, there are certain bands where there's the only one main singer, and if they try to get somebody else, it's kind of like trying to recapture the energy.
Yeah.
Chicago, after Peter Cetera left, they got a guy who could sing almost like him. That doesn't feel right to me. I know
Yeah.
that
Journey.
Steve Perry left because he lost the passion of the music.
Yeah.
I 100% get that. The new guy, he's okay, but it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah. I think he tries too hard to sound like Steve. Is that a bad thing to think?
Yeah, and I wanted to like the new singer of Stone Temple Pilots. I really did, because he talked about how he didn't want to sound like he's sounding like Weiland,
Uh-huh.
and that he was replacing him. It just didn't gel with me. But that being said, I'm okay with Adam Lambert facilitating, letting the boys play.
Yeah.
And I think that's the caveat here, is he's just there to facilitate. He says he never wants to replace Freddie.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, if there's one person in this freaking world that I'm okay with, it's Adam Lambert doing this.
Yeah. I definitely agree that I'm okay with him doing it, because I don't think he's ever once tried to replace Freddie, and I know that he wouldn't, and he's stated that he would never. I mean, how could anyone replace Freddie Mercury? That's
And
just...
also, he has basically the best freaking job in the world right now. You're getting to sing with the boys of Queen, their music, and you're just basically helping lead in a sing-along.
Mm-hmm.
You have an angelic voice of your own, Adam. I'm not going to knock you for it. You got a good voice.
I would love to go and see Queen, because I love drummers. Drummers are my thing. So,
Yeah.
Roger Taylor.
My favorite all-time drummer is no longer with us. John Bonham.
Oh, yeah. He's a good one.
My favorite modern drummer is the drummer from Tonight Alive. Like, one, I mean, I love that, but like one that connects with me is Matty Best from Tonight Alive.
I have a lot of favorite drummers.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
For
Because
me, I'm so weird, but like, this is gonna sound like really weird and girly, but a lot of times whenever I really get into a band and like I start, looking at pictures and stuff like that, I'm like, ooh, he's cute, and it's always the drummer. And then like I get super focused on the drums, and
me
my
too.
first two boyfriends were actually drummers, and through that, in being in marching band with
Hmm.
them, and like them being drummers, whenever we would sit and listen to other bands play and stuff, like they would talk about, oh, that's crap, and like they would say things about the drum work, and I really picked up on those things. And
Yeah.
so I feel like now when I listen to a band, that's what I like listen for, and I'm just obsessed with drummers in general. So
Yep. And I'm not knocking Matt Cameron, but he could arguably not be the best drummer of Pearl Jam's,
mhm.
because some people would like Jack Irons to come back, or any one of the drummers. But going off of, I have two more thoughts on the drum things, and then we can wrap up here.
Okay.
Um, One, Pearl Jam invited, when they were inducted into the Hall of Fame, they invited every single one of their drummers to come perform
Uh-huh.
and be inducted too. I think one, because of legal reasons, couldn't come. I'm not going to comment on that because I don't know the whole situation.
Mhm.
But that's big of you to be inducted into this. And, some people are like, even the Hall of Fame, then that. One of my favorite bands is getting recognized for being one of the best ever. Shut up.
Mhm.
It's not as tainted as the Grammys. I'm okay with non-rock artists getting in because they exemplified what rock and roll was to music.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with like a Biggie getting in, or any non-rock people that exemplify what rock and roll is meant to be. Get them in the Hall of Fame. I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. But going back to the other section of the drumming, the drums and the bass are the backbone to a good song.
Oh yeah.
They make or break. I listen to the drums a lot. If anybody says rock and roll doesn't have any substance, all right, I'd like you to sit in front of a set and play Hot for Teacher for me.
Yeah. There you go.
Or play Moby Dick for me. Or When the Levee Breaks.
Ooh, yeah. Good song.
Oh, or any of the... Or there's some pretty hard... there's some pretty hard Beatles songs. I tried them on expert drums on Rock Band Beatles. Yeah, Ringo.
Mhm.
Yeah. Don't knock the drummer. And just I hate when people say something has no substance to it.
Mhm.
Because for some people it has substance. Say, what I'd rather people say is, it doesn't gel with me.
Yeah.
Because then you're not knocking an entire genre because you don't like it.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
And for me, when I say it doesn't gel with me, it doesn't devalue that song.
Mhm.
It just means it's not resonating with me, and that's okay. Unless it's Kanye West. But going on. my
Throw some shade.
my buddy, he's one who's very supportive of the channel and everything, and I talk to him almost every day. He's out in California.
Mhm.
He he got me one Kanye album. And I'm like, he said, I'm gonna get this for you. I'm like, okay. Other than the use of the N word, which I don't agree with at all, even like in
Yeah.
context, even in
Yeah.
songs,
Yeah.
you're gonna think I'm weird. I had to put headphones on because I didn't want people to hear the harsh language. And when I say harsh language, that means harsh language.
Mhm.
I enjoyed parts of it to the point where I'm like, if I'm in a mood for this because I have it, I'll put it on,
Uh-huh.
but I'm not going to support you.
Yeah, I do not like the N word. That is.
That is not even like for the use exclusively in songs for what it's meant to, like what they're using it now for.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this:
can't.
we should wipe out all use of it. If we're gonna move ahead, wipe out all use of it.
Yeah. And I mean, they use it among themselves too, and that just it doesn't
That
make it better for anybody else on the outside looking in. So,
no,
food
but
for
what
thought.
food for thought is don't if we want to move ahead, understand where we came from still and move ahead. Even if you think it's okay within your own group to use a certain word, and it's known to be a word that has negative connotations, just don't use the word.
Yeah.
Unless the bird is the word. Haha, no.
Bird's the word.
Well, I think with that, we have actually gone one of the longest that we've ever had.
Yeah, I know. We
And
got to talk about Pearl Jam and Queen and so much other stuff in this
yes,
podcast.
this is probably so far one of my favorite episodes so far. I know I just
think
said
so
so
as
far
well,
twice.
yeah.
Because this is one where I didn't even realize how long we've been talking.
Yeah, no, not at all.
My 2 drinks are completely sapped, so I'm going to go fill these up when we're done here. But this has been really enjoyable, and it's really kind of, we've been dealing with a lot of stuff, especially with the human malware. And the reason we say this is because any use of that word automatically gets either demonetized or it flags the video. There's not a lot of people working at YouTube right now to manually go through and look. So we are just protecting you, ourselves, and you. If you want to talk about it, like I said earlier with some of my favorite YouTubers, I'm like, stop using that word! I know in our earlier conversation, but I'm like, stop using the words!
Uh-huh.
Maybe when it all blows over, which I have hope for, when it all blows over, we could use the word again. But for now, I know we didn't say it at all, but I'm going to say human malware from now until the end of whenever. But it was really nice to just take a little bit of time on a Saturday night just to talk about music.
Yeah, and to not think about everything going on. And, we
Right.
haven't done this in about a month because, everything's been so crazy. So
I know. So we're going to try and keep back to our 2 weeks now that we have a little extra time on our hands and I'm working at home. So we might be able to hop on and record this on a better night. I'm not saying Saturday night's not bad.
yeah, I get what you mean.
But we apologize for the delay. If you're over with my YouTube, I don't think I posted in a month. And talking about Queen 2, I was about to watch your discography video a little later tonight. So the box set.
Yeah.
The box set one. You know what video I'm talking about.
I forgot that I posted that today, actually, because I try and, pre-film videos and edit them so that way, I have a couple weeks in advance in case I get sick or I'm just not in the mood to film a video or something. So that one I had filmed a while ago and put up this week. And, I love it. I'm so excited about it. I talk about their discography and I geek out, so.
That's what I love about it is even though I don't know that much, I learned by you getting geeked out. And then I hope I taught you something by me getting geeked out.
Hey, when we have that episode about Queen on our podcast, prepare for a geeky Marichen, because Queen is one of the bands that I can totally geek out for. So
yes, and I will say I liked Bohemian Rhapsody a lot. But I know the discography and know where the timeline is, and I'm like, yeah, you took a couple of liberties, didn't you?
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
I also just love Ben Hardy. He's one of my favorite actors, and he does not get enough love.
Yes. But I would just say I really, really enjoyed it. But we're going to talk about that in our Queen episode.
Oh, yeah. I will definitely be mentioning the movie.
So, I think that's about it. Also, did you want to do maybe an Elton John episode?
Ooh, that would be so much fun.
I know.
Even thought about that. Ooh.
We're getting ideas down. We should write all these down.
I know. Hey, I started doing this ranked idea, which I know a lot of people are probably familiar with John over at ARTV.
Yes.
And he had done some, and I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool idea. And then I don't know if you watch Dylan over at the Record Spinner.
I do not. I'll check him out.
He's super cool. He's into a lot of metal and, stuff that you're really interested in.
Hmm.
Some stuff that I'm interested in too. Just he has like a wide taste in music, and he's super cool. But he actually did a ranked video for Kiss, which is one of his favorite bands. And he ranked all of their albums, and that really inspired me because he's so well versed on every album that he shows. I mean, he knows so much about music. It's insane. If you guys have never watched his channel, I highly recommend going and watching his videos. He's a super cool dude, and
Yeah.
he's another young person as well. I think he's a few years older than I am.
Hmm.
In his mid-20s. So I mean, for him to know so much, again, just makes me feel like I know so little.
Yeah.
But I've really got inspired by him, and so I've been working on a few episodes of that ranked, and you've given me a few more ideas of
Awesome.
bands and artists I need to rank as well.
Yeah. Speaking of ARTV, I entered. He had a contest. John had a contest with FYE, and that's how I got my 311 album. Was through that.
Okay, yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah. He seems like a cool guy. Like I'd want to like just chit chat to him.
Yeah, he seems very cool. I always think he seems really laid back and really funny.
Yeah. I don't necessarily agree 100% with everything, but that's what's the beauty of opinions is.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it, but I respect your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then, if you want to do the wide web of things, if you want to do the connection, like kind of like the degrees of bacon,
Uh-huh.
I think John knows Luke from Rocked, because they go on and they do, the Rock Coliseum.
Uh-huh.
And then Luke from Rocked goes on and to some of the videos for Nash Bozard. He's one of my favorites on YouTube. He does Radio Dead Air,
Uh-huh.
which is a live stream show, but he does a couple of segments that he puts up on YouTube. So it's kind of like through that to that to that is kind of like crazy, like how some of it is interconnected. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, I think we are good from here. Do you have any closing thoughts?
I don't think so. Not that I can think of.
Well, I could say one is that please stay safe out there. And what I mean by that is stay safe both mentally, well, not both, mentally, physically, and just keep yourself aware that there's a lot of misinformation out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
And even your trusted source might not be that trusted. And I'm not saying to devalue anybody who works in journalism. But take everything with a grain of salt. It's a crazy world out there right now. Focus on what you can control.
Yeah.
Wash your hands. I went out earlier. I wore a face mask. I kept my social distancing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a scary world out there with real implications if you don't follow guidelines.
Yeah.
We have a stay-at-home recommendation until June of the 10th.
Oh, really?
We are in Virginia Beach, we are one of the longest. Not Virginia Beach, but Virginia is one of the longest. They want to tamp this down now.
Yeah. A lot of people are talking about, Andy Bashir in Kentucky. I feel like that's been the talk of a lot of the news and stuff, because he's done a very good job, I feel like, with everything here in Kentucky. And, right now we're kind of going month by month. It was going to be till the end of April, and now it's kind of pushed back to the middle of May.
It is a fluid situation, and that's the scariest part of it.
Yeah. So who knows, but, just everybody stay safe out there and try to have fun with it.
Yeah.
Don't always think on the negative. Think about the positives. Get a good album. Get a good book.
I'm waiting for a package. So if it makes it through New Jersey this weekend, it should be here by Wednesday, which is great.
There you go. I'm looking forward to a few packages as well. So
I'll film a video. I'll just say, sorry, everybody who knows and is listening to this and follows me knows just how busy of a person I am. And lately I've had no energy to film YouTube videos. I am sorry. I love doing this though.
Yeah, I do. I love this.
I, if I was like to shutter my channel and just do this, I would be fine with it. I'm not going to do that.
Hmm.
But you might not see as many videos because I just don't have the time. And for those of us who create videos, we know even just one of your videos that's kind of like simple, with just showing off like what you've gotten,
Yeah.
that takes a long time.
Oh, yeah.
It takes filming
Hmm.
and editing and rendering and uploading and promoting.
Yeah.
Honestly, if it's going to be like a 10-minute video for me, I easily put in an hour and a half of work just before it even gets up to YouTube.
Oh, yeah, easy. I mean, my Queen video that I put up is a little over 30 minutes. And I mean, it took me an hour and a half roughly to film it.
Yep.
Um, and then I had to, upload it to my computer. I mean, I edited it. So, I mean, that meant editing over an hour and a half of footage and making a thumbnail and
Yeah,
uploading it to
so
YouTube. And so, I mean, it
rendering.
was, yeah,
Rendering takes forever.
there was a lot of work that went into that video. So I
Yeah.
hope it shows.
Uh, I cannot wait to watch it. As soon as we're done here, I am going to be watching it. So
Well, I hope you enjoy it.
I will. I know I will. You always put out quality content.
Thank you. That means a lot because I really try hard with everything I do. So,
Yes, you're one of my favorite channels because you have a brand to you that is just so cool. I love the titles and everything that you do with your channel. So, yeah, I just can't wait. I haven't been watching like everything because there's no possible way to watch every single channel, every single video, every single day. But as soon
yeah.
as I saw a box set, I'm like, I cannot wait to see a box set and what went into it from your point of view. So
Yeah.
I cannot wait for that. And, it's a hobby. Um, there's some people I get into moods kind of like I get into music, where I'll watch somebody for a little while, then I'll move away, come back, move away, come back.
Yeah.
So, but you're one of the constants. I will say that. You're one of the constants that I try my best to watch everything.
Oh, well, thank you. I always try and watch your videos whenever they come up too. I might not get to them that day, but I usually do eventually get back around
Yeah,
to them.
I will get around to another video. I have a bunch of ideas I want to do, but it's getting backburnered, and this is
Hmm.
kind of why I'm going to make the announcement now. I'm starting work on my first novel, and I am super excited to finally get to work on my
That's a
first
lot
novel.
of work. So,
It is. It
I don't
is.
blame you for not doing as much YouTube.
I just decided to start going to kind of go off of that, and I can talk to you about it later. But
Hmm.
as the weeks go along, I'll just talk about where I'm at with it and this and that. I kind of want to. I don't see myself finishing by the end of the year with the
Hmm.
way things are now, but who knows? Maybe I might just get into a yay. What I mean by finish by the end of the year is get it to the point where I have people peer edit it, peer review it, and then I go
Hmm.
back and I refine it. That's what I mean by end of year.
Yeah.
I was actually, the Bull Moose channel, right?
Yes.
I was actually on a Zoom call with Chris from the YouTube channel.
Really?
Yes, he did a record time kind of showing off. I wasn't able to do the last one because I was actually working in the office.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to get a bunch of work done. But I got to talk to him and a bunch of things, and he said, "Hey, have you ever wrote?" And I said, I've kind of had the idea. So it was from that conversation that I finally wanted to get my first novel going. And this story I've had since I was about 10 years old. It's morphed, it's changed,
Hmm.
but there are elements that have kept constant. And when I have a better synopsis of, I've been kind of, when people have asked, I've kind of given a vague
Uh-huh.
idea because you have to have that. But when I get the full synopsis down, I will let y'all know in voice form.
Yeah,
Voice
I look
form,
forward
yeah.
to that.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm just going to say stay safe out there. Try something new. As soon as this gets done, I'm going to quit my gym and start working in this room here, working out. Some days I can get to it, some not. But I'm going to generally try and be kind of harder on myself to do that. So I'm shuttering off a couple of other hobbies to focus on this, but definitely not record collecting. Record collecting is going to be number one.
Oh yeah, it's my number one hobby.
It's the number one hobby. But there's some things I can't do right now, like photography. That's going to
Yeah.
have to go away for a little while. I just recently restrung my guitar and I picked it up for the first time in a while. I want to learn that back again. So I'm trying to. I do it day by day, but I really need to kind of maybe even start tomorrow since it's going to be a brand new year for me. I will be 29. It's 10:20 p.m. here, so in a couple hours I will be 29. And
Ooh.
I have a list of things to do before I turn 30. So I'm gonna write that list down starting tomorrow. The things I want to do before I turn 30. Whether it's achievable after 30 or not, it's fine. But it's something that I kind of just I feel the need to do.
Yeah, I totally get that. I have lists like that, like stuff I wanted to do before I turned 16, stuff I wanted to do before I turned 18, and
Mm-hmm. And
21 not so much because I feel like that's just a big milestone in its own
yeah,
for some reason.
25 is a big milestone too because it's kind of the last cap year of
Yeah,
things because you could finally rent a car without needing somebody else to help.
that and your insurance goes down.
Exactly.
Big plus.
Big
So,
plus. So if you're listening and you're in your teens and everything, have something to look forward to.
yeah,
That's
life gets better.
yeah, and it's what you put in, and that's where I'm going to have the final closing. In everything I have done, except for the book, because it's not going to make sense with the book, but everything I have been in where you hear my voice. I always say this. When the waters get rough, and heaven knows we are in the roughest of seas right now, please keep on sailing. Please keep on going. Please keep fighting the good fights. Even if you feel like you can't believe in yourself, there's no one there to believe in you. If you're distant from your loved ones, if you know they love you, but your mind is just fucking up on you and it's causing you just to be in this depressed state, which I've been in before. Please keep going. Please, please, please. Because I'm telling you, it is worth it at the end to keep fighting. And I think I speak for the both of us here by saying that we believe in you. We are that voice that is telling you to keep going. I've had to tell myself that for a while because my mom lives at home with me. She was furloughed from her job. It's scary, but you have to have that voice that says to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And just believe in yourself because we believe in you and we are rooting for you and we want the best for you. So with that, our dear listeners, please keep safe. Please stay healthy. Please be careful out there. There's a lot of misinformation. And we will see you in the next episode. And I hope you have the most wonderful day, evening, whenever you're listening to this, and that you look forward to a brighter day tomorrow.